Hey everyone, Mars8 here bringing you guys a brand new album review, and today we're going to be reviewing Avenged Sevenfold's latest album, The Stage, which they dropped on us by surprise, out of nowhere, with no announcement whatsoever. Now this can be either a risky move or a rewarding one. Risky in a sense that, you don't really have any promotion behind it, and a rewarding one is if your fan base is ravenous enough for an album, they'll scream right to that thing as soon as it drops. Well, unfortunately, it's not doing the best in terms of sales, which I'm actually a little bit surprised about. So let's jump into the review and actually see if this album is worth checking out. I'm going to be nice to you guys this time around. I'm not even going to hold you in suspense on how I feel about this album. Because, truth be told, I think this record is fantastic. It's one of those records that actually had me excited to talk about. Like, I literally listened to this album and decided right there and then to dedicate a week just to absorb as much of it as I could before I went into this review, because it's one of the most diverse albums that Avenged Sevenfold has ever put out, taking this much more progressive metal approach while still retaining their heavy metal and metalcore sound. You also have hints of thrash metal and black metal thrown in for good measure as well. Each of the songs of this record were memorable and brought something unique to the table, whether it's the title track, which opens up with these long, drawn-out organ pipes that sound very similar to the opening of The Phantom of the Opera, and have these sing-song-like vocals throughout it that were kind of similar to A Little Piece of Heaven. To songs like Roman Sky, which has this more orchestra-based focus to it, where the instruments are actually building up the tension of the song. Simulation is another great example of just how diverse these songs are. It starts off by setting up this almost trippy and laid-back vibe with these more relaxed vocals and floaty, drawn-out guitar strums that use distortion and other effects. Then, the song immediately makes a left turn to a much heavier and faster beat. The best way I can describe it, and describe the flow of the song, is something like Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb being caught in a tug-of-war with Backcountry. There are so many other great tracks on this album that I could gush over. You have songs like Goddamn, which has these awesome pulse rifle riffs, to Paradigm, which has elements of thrash and hardcore in it. Almost all the songs have great choruses and breakdowns, and I have to take a moment and pay major respect to how awesome the vocals and instruments were on this album. Especially the cut guitars. Wow, were the riffs and solos on it insane. Which brings us to what I consider to be one of the best songs on the album. Ironically, when I first saw it exist, I thought it was probably going to be one of the first songs that actually got axed off my iPod. It was 15 minutes long, and generally with songs of that length, I tend to get bored easily with them, either due to the repetition of certain parts, or just the music not being able to maintain my attention throughout the entire length of the song, especially if it's slow or quiet. That was not the case at all with this song, as it starts off with this high-velocity instrumental opening that quickly transitions into this Metallica-like chugging riff similar to Blackened, and then continues to transition without ever losing any of its flow up until what I want to call the second part of the song. This part is where the vocals kick in, and while the part lays more on the softer side, it still incorporates various musical elements that makes listening to it not feel like a chore. It's enjoyable. This leads up to the final part, and by far one of the most epic parts on the album, as we have a guest feature, Neil deGrasse Tyson, an astrophysicist who I definitely recommend you guys check out if you're interested in anything to do with space. This dude is awesome. He reads off this incredible statement about the state of humanity while fast-paced music blends beautifully in the background, and by far it makes it one of the most epic album closers I have ever heard. And I have to give credit where credit's due. It's very rare for me to find a 10-minute song, much less a 15, that is actually a joy to listen through the entire track. Now, as a critic, I try my best to be fair, even when it comes to albums as creative and enjoyable as this one. Going through this album, there were some songs like Sunny Disposition and Creating God that I did feel were way too long and drawn out. Both of these songs were over 5 minutes long, and I just felt like they kept repeating the same bridges and choruses over and over again, throwing in a couple of different variants, like maybe a new guitar solo here, or maybe a couple different little lyrics here, but it just felt the same. It felt tedious at times. But with that being said, I honestly wasn't expecting this album to be as great as it was. Maybe it was because of the kind of stale taste that Hail to the King left in my mouth after they released that, and I didn't really know whether they were going down the more restricted route again. So it was incredibly pleasing to see them being able to express their full creativity and show just how far their musical talent has come since the release of Waking the Fallen. Not only were they able to experiment and bring these new elements into their song, making them unique and awesome, but they did so in a way that made these songs feel at times like they recaptured some of that essence of their older albums in a much more matured and refined way. There were moments on this album that I felt like would have fit great in City of Evil or their self-titled album. But at the same time, this album does a great job of being a beast all its own, and I couldn't be happier with that. So for my final score, I gotta give Avenged Sevenfold's The Stage a solid 9 out of 10 with my definite stamp of approval. Seriously guys, give this album a try if you haven't already. Stream that shit if you have to. It's on YouTube. I'll leave the link down below for you. And let me know what you guys think about it. Because guess what? I'm just one guy with the incredible powers of a PlayStation 4, a YouTube channel, and a passion for music. Your opinions may differ from mine, and I'd love to hear them. If you agree or disagree, please feel free to share in the comments below. If you enjoyed what you saw and want to leave a like before you go, it's always greatly appreciated. And if you guys want to see more of these reviews and or just want to join the team, as always, the subscribe button is just a click away for you. Thank you guys as always, and I will see you on the next one. Mars out.